So
Okay.
we're live.
Wait, are you on Facebook Live?
Yes, we are
Okay,
live. We're ready to go. And I am so excited today, you guys. I am totally excited. But please tell us, to our listeners out there, we've got so many of you guys coming in. Please tell us city and state you're from. I am wanting to know where everyone is from, city and state, please. I'd love to know. And this webinar is all about opportunities in the foreclosure markets. We've got someone from Westland. People will start rolling in. Venice, Florida. Come on, let's go, you guys. Let's type it in. Okay, so topic is how to stay ahead in real estate through marketing and how to have tactful conversations with homeowners that are in pre-foreclosure. This is amazing. This is so awesome. So as everyone starts rolling in, city and state, as they tell us where they're from, I just want to really give a shout out to our amazing, amazing guest star today, Nicole Espinoza, all the way from Texas, right? But there's a twist to that. Nicole is a best-selling author of Short Sales Uncensored, right? And has been negotiating short sales in the DFW and Houston market since 2011. So you live in Texas, but you're really ruling the short sale markets in Houston area. I can't imagine how that is, how you do it all. So I'm so excited to learn from you. She also launched her company, The Short Sale Queen, in 2019, allowing her team to process short sales nationwide and is currently in 11 markets. Wow. Nicole has been featured on several real estate panels, podcasts, and TV segments. Wow. Again, another wow. And she also teaches classes on short sales to other brokerages, title companies, and other realtor association. She has extensive knowledge in distressed properties that has made her the market expert when dealing in difficult transactions. And she is also the podcast host of Entrepreneurship Uncensored, where she interviews entrepreneurs across the country on good and bad and ugly of entrepreneurship. She's also passionate about mentorship. Wow, you've got some amazing credentials here, Nicole. Mentorship, and offers mentorship for real estate agents who are looking to specialize in this niche. Her real estate team, the Queens Network, services the Dallas-Fort Worth area, helping buyers and sellers across the Metroplex. And when she's not working, I wonder when you're not, Nicole. She's an adorable mom of two beautiful, she is an adorable mom of two adorable children, Emma and Elias, right? Did I say that right? And that is her big why. Welcome, Nicole. I am so wow, this is amazing bio you have here. So welcome. We've got a lot of people coming in from all over the place. Los Angeles, Sherry, St. Louis, Kimberly is from King of Persia, Whittier, California. So keep them coming. But welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And of course, Haley, we can't miss that.
Hello.
Haley Johnson from our favorite RedX, which keeps us on track and keeps us with all the geofarming that you have and the expired leads and, all the fun stuff that we have our, team work on. So thank you so much, Haley, and welcome to both of you. So Nicole, tell us a little bit about what is it that you do, the Short Sale Queen. Tell us a little bit about that. Kind of take us into that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. Love seeing how many people are all over the country. So we've got a good mix of people here. So the Short Sale Queen, I have 11 people on staff. All we do, unlike a lot of other real estate companies, all we do is short sales. So that's what we highly specialize in. We've been doing that for the last decade. We work with homeowners all over the country. We're 100% referral. So all of our business is directly from referral. We also have, campaigns that go directly to homeowners that we do use RedX. We actually I started cold calling using RedX. So for me, it's always fun, full circle for me whenever I do anything with RedX, because that's how I started calling pre-foreclosures. So we facilitate the transaction from start to finish. Like you had said in my bio, we're in 11 markets right now, which means we're in 11 states. So we pretty much dominate Texas, but we're also in, just a couple like New Jersey and Florida and a couple of different states. So we're kind of spread out. Our average listings is over 100 a month that we're managing. So it's a lot of human beings.
Wow. And Right at a very high level. And we just started our expansion team in New Jersey. So I am totally excited to know more about this. How do you do this? I mean, give us a little bit of like a breakdown, like how do you work it with RedX and what is the process?
Yeah, so we have virtual assistants that are, we have 4 virtual assistants on staff that literally just call the banks. And so they have a series of questions on our files, and they're literally just calling the lenders for updates to get things moving along. I have an acquisition lead specialist who is following up with all of the leads. And then I have negotiators where they are working specifically on files, like they have sellers that they're assigned to, that they're negotiating all the way to closing. And then I have my operations manager who is kind of like overseeing that and making sure that they, close, especially with, the difficult problem files and things like that. And then I'm overseeing all of it.
Yeah.
We also have a brokerage. So I have a lot of different businesses that kind of all tie together. But when it comes to the short sale queen, that's kind of how we were set up. We emulate the bank a lot in the sense that we have someone from the very beginning processing all the way to closing.
Wow. Wow. So you basically took, and if anyone out there has any questions for Nicole, please pop them in our question and answer chat box or even the chat group. I will be sure to ask her those questions. But this is where RedX comes in, right? Are you looking at the pre-foreclosures with RedX, or what is the main part of RedX? How are they helping you with dialing it out?
So when you're doing acquisitions or when you're doing prospecting for homeowners, pre-foreclosure and auction are the lists that you want to go after. The pre-foreclosure is always the best because they don't have an auction date yet. So you have a little bit more time to nurture and to prospect these homeowners without a hard deadline. The people in auction, which means that they have a foreclosure date set, they are going to have a higher chance of motivation, but less time for you to actually do anything. So RedX provide, what's so great about their lists is that they provide, and everybody that's on here, is probably using you guys. So they know, you can see the history of whether it's listed or not. You can see obviously you have all the contact information and just kind of get a full picture of what's going on.
Right. I love that part about RedX. Haley, tell us a little bit about, what other services does RedX provide in regards to the geofarming, in regards to the different categories, so to speak.
Yeah, I think, well, like Nicole said, we have that pre-foreclosure product, but we do have a pretty wide product suite for whatever prospector is out there. I know a lot of people that are those ambitious go-getters, like love the expired and for sale by owner leads, because these are already motivated people that want to sell. So a lot of people call those leads. And then we also have our geo leads, which is a little bit more, you're not having as much heated conversations, you could say. Expireds are usually pretty emotional about a sell or about a previous agent, where geo leads is kind of, you're just having a nice conversation. Circle prospecting, just listed, just sold kind of leads. You can pick an area you want to call and generate some leads that way. We also have for rent by owners, that's calling vacant rental properties, investors, things like that, seeing if they want to liquidate, cash out. I think that's a pretty good synopsis of all the leads that we offer. Of course, we have add-ons and things like that, but yeah.
Well, and what Nicole was talking about earlier, the information that she's sharing with us, pre-foreclosures, right? Now you also have an area with pre-foreclosures, Nicole, Haley. But Nicole, does your team just dive into it every morning? Take us into a little bit of like your day-to-day process. What happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have now gone to 100% referral. So we don't have any kind of prospecting now. But what my process of what I would do every day, because I was personally doing it until I was building out a team to do it, was every single morning, 2 hours calling the pre-foreclosures, using the dialer. And a lot of those conversations, they need to be nurtured because they don't, They want to stay in their home, which is the number one objection you're going to get with people in foreclosure. They want a loan modification. They want to stay in their house. So these were multiple conversations of educating them on their options and then following up and really building rapport that way and being a resource for them, which is something that, you know, going into, I saw some of the questions of what you guys wanted to cover today, which is goes right into that when you're talking to these homeowners, it's really important that you're coming from a place of education and your value is going to come through that way. People in this situation are heavily solicited, and they're not just heavily solicited by realtors. They're heavily solicited by investors, real estate investors who are super aggressive. You have foreclosure attorneys, you have the actual lender that is just trying to kind of scare them into doing a loan modification or to do something. And so they're very overwhelmed. So if you can be a resource, if you can be this place of education, you will build that rapport so quickly and you're going to be the go-to person. And that's really how I built my business, was being a value add for realtors, for investors, and for homeowners directly.
And it's so amazing that you say that. We're always constantly educating ourselves, right? We're constantly, as realtors, you should be. If you're not in
Right.
that in education mindset, then you know you're not in the growth mindset, so to speak. But I love what you just said. Educate them through their options. Now, like you said, you know, the lenders are scaring them, the pre-foreclosure letters are going out, and all of this stuff is going on. But what are some of the things that you used to say, or your team does say to them when you're educating them of the options that they have? What kind of scripts do you use, or what kind of options do you talk to them about?
So you need to understand the basics, right? So in order to really be able to connect with these homeowners, you have to understand what they're being faced with, right? So the options that homeowners have in this situation is a loan modification, which means that they are able to stay in the home and the bank modifies the terms of the loan, but they have to qualify. So they have to prove to the bank that they can afford, you know, 3 times the amount of the loan, that they can afford the house, that it was just a temporary hardship, which we know that most hardships are not temporary, right? If somebody has no income, they're not going to be able to afford the mortgage and they're not going to get approved.
Right.
So that right off the bat is going to be the biggest objection. Like, the bank said that they're going to work something out with me. I'm going to try to talk to them. And I never argue. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So did you ask them this question? Great. So are you here? And then once I start asking them questions and kind of poking holes, because it's always like their defense of saying like, I got this taken care of already. Then it starts creating doubt of like, okay, maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. So maybe I should listen.
Right.
A lot of times people just are very delusional in this situation because they just haven't been paying and they really don't know. They just don't want to lose their house. And so a lot of times it's poking holes and really letting themselves talk themselves into it, not being that salesperson, right? And I think a lot of times when we're prospecting, it's very easy to put the salesperson hat, like, I'm the best, I've been doing this forever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares, right? Like, nobody cares that you have 10 certifications or whatever. All they care is, are you going to be the solution to their problem?
Exactly.
Are you going to be a solution? If you can fix their problem and make it about them, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that client.
Right. And make it about them. Even if it's not a foreclosure, when you're dialing out, like, you know, you see an expired, what happened? Communicate with them. What was the challenges the last time you had? And what can we do to make this process better for you? Because again, they might have had a really bad experience, and you want to not sell yourself, but you want to talk to them and say, hey, listen, these are your options. This is what we can do for you. Not about your awards and not about this and that. It's about them. That is amazing. Amanda Smith asks a question. Nicole, have you assisted people who can't repay reverse mortgage loans and need to sell? And if so, how does this compare to short sale transactions?
Absolutely. So I actually just did a video on reverse mortgages on my YouTube, because this question comes up a lot because it's a very different loan than a traditional loan. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what a reverse mortgage is, a reverse mortgage, in order to qualify, you have to be, I believe it was like 60, 70, I can't remember the exact age, but you have to be retired, older. And basically it's a cash out of your equity, right? So what a lot of times people come into this thinking this product is a good product because I don't have to pay my mortgage every month. I get to cash out and I also get to stay in my home. The problem is that they have to pay taxes and they have to pay their homeowner's insurance And if they don't, then they can end up in foreclosure. Every single month, because they've cashed out, that balance goes up. So a lot of times what we see is that they end up in foreclosure because they can't afford the taxes, or we see that they actually do want to sell, and now the balance, because it's a reverse mortgage, goes up every month. Now they have no equity. So you can absolutely do a short sale and a reverse mortgage. It's very straightforward. Unlike a traditional short sale, they don't have to have a financial hardship. They just have to have no equity, right? Because otherwise there's nothing to negotiate. Unlike a traditional short sale, they can sell it to their heirs. So if, in this situation, the only way to end up in foreclosure, so if you see them on the pre-foreclosure list, it's because their taxes are in default or because the owner has passed away. Because that's the only way that this loan can actually move forward with foreclosure. So if the owner has passed away, the heirs can purchase the property, or you can just list it to sell it. The bank will do an appraisal and they'll accept 95% of whatever that appraisal is. So it's, I mean, not to go into too much detail, but that's pretty much a synopsis of what that process looks like.
That's for another webinar.
That's for a whole other. If anything, go to YouTube. I just did a whole video on it. The short sale queen. You can do a breakdown.
And we can have it here again. We can definitely do
over that too.
Reverse mortgage, but with Nicole, Espinoza, and RedX, we can do something like that. But this is so interesting. Thank you so much for answering that question, because you really went into detail about that, and that is so cool to see that it's not only one segment of it. It's not only one like reverse mortgages. It's also foreclosures. It's all. Talk to us a little bit about your conversation with your team when it comes to foreclosures or pre-foreclosures. You say you do 100 closings a month or 100 listings, possibly 100 here and there, give or take.
Right.
Tell us how those conversations look like when it comes to short sales, right? Especially in this market, to where everyone is saying it's such a seller's market, but yet everything is going over asking. Then why do we talk about short sales? Is that still there? Is it still out there, right? That's
a great question, because I remember, so I've been doing this since 2009. So I remember when the market crashed, and then we had a huge REO foreclosure market. And then 2011, 2012, we started seeing things correct and bounce back. And then 2013, they're like, what? The market's, amazing or whatever. And I've been doing short sales this entire time. And the funny thing is that I remember my broker at the time was like, how are you in business? Right? Because people think like the market is amazing. How do you still have clients? And so what you have to remember, and this is a huge common mistake on people, think that somehow the market has something to do with foreclosures. Now it does, in a sense that it prevents less foreclosures because it gives homeowners more options, right? Because people that are very marginally underwater, they could sell it for more in a seller's market, right? Like we have clients like that 6 months ago, we couldn't sell the house. We have one, for example, 6 months ago, we couldn't sell the house for 200,000. Fast forward, we got an offer for 290. Like, what? Wow. Right. So in that situation, yes, she was able to get money out of it too. It's not even a short sale anymore. But what people don't understand is that the reason why homeowners are in a short sale is because of financially, right? So people will always have a financial hardship. What does a financial hardship mean? So that means that someone's lost their job. It means that whatever has happened in their life has prevented them from paying the mortgage. Well, people in this situation, they're years and years of not paying. So what happens is their, late fees, interest, all of that eats away their equity. I mean, we have seen the craziest payoffs. It's insane what the banks are allowed to do. Like we had a payoff for $350,000. Their original unpaid principal balance, their original principal balance was $185,000. Wow. What's insane to me is that the bank, they took out a loan for $185,000, okay? Paying into this house for 5 years. And now their balance is 300 something. Like that's, people don't, exactly. How is that possible? Well, they did multiple loan modifications. They haven't been paying for 5 years. Like all of that accumulates, the escrow, everything. I mean, and so there's no market that's going to fix that big of a difference.
And
right?
That's the thing. See, that's a misconception people have that, whoa, we're in a hot market. We're not going to see foreclosures. We're not going to see short sales. Foreclosures or pre-foreclosures but they don't understand that what is the challenge, what has been the homeowner's hardships. And I think that's the angle that we should go at. Like you said earlier, that is the angle that you should go at. More than anything, I guess another thing is not paying for so long. What is loan modification all about? That in itself is a topic. Like you can dig into it deeper and deeper and say, okay, right. I mean, loan modification, talk to us about that. I mean, people don't, like you said, ask those questions, the key questions. So tell us, what are the 2-3 questions you ask?
So the loan modifications are a great concept. Okay. It's a great concept because it tells the homeowner, the lenders tell the homeowners, I'm going to give you this option to be current now, even though you've been behind, and now you just keep paying, right? Your payment hasn't changed, but you're current. But what they don't say is if it's a government loan, they've created a second lien. So surprise when I go to sell it, or they've just added all of that to the back of the loan. So now they're continuing to pay into something that they have no equity in, right? So what's the point of homeownership? To build equity. So if you are now upside down and you're not going to plan on staying there for the rest of your life, you're wasting money. You're paying into something that you're never going to get out from underneath. And if you do have to sell, it's going to be a short sale, right? Or you have to come to closing with the difference. So that's, a little bit about loan modifications. That's a whole other,
right. We've got so many different topics here, and
I know it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to this topic. A lot of people don't understand when it comes to that because there's just so much. But I think your question was, what questions do we ask? Like, what do we ask the homeowner?
Yeah. What are the 2 key questions? Like, say, for example, now RedX comes in. RedX gives you a list of foreclosures, right? Gives you a team or whoever is dialing out, your ISAs, whoever is dialing out, they give a list of questions. A list of foreclosure, possible pre-foreclosures, right?
Right.
So from there, what is this conversation sound like? You're not going to directly say, hey, I see that you're on a list of pre-foreclosures, right? How do you soft convert on those kind of leads?
Yeah. So, coming from the approach of you're trying to build rapport, you're trying to be their friend, right? You're not trying to sell them. I never just introduce myself as a realtor. I never say, hi, I'm Nicole Espinosa with the Short Sale Queen. I would never do that.
Right.
But when I'm talking to them, it's very casual. It's literally as casual as, hey, Jem, it's Nicole. How are you? And they're like, who? Nicole? Who are you? Do I know you?
Yeah.
But it's very personal. And it's very, when I'm talking to them, kind of when I'm first talking to them, I'm like, hey, I was like, so, tell me what's going on. I see that you're in a situation where the house is going up for auction. I've helped a lot of clients in the past that are in a similar situation. I don't want to see you lose your house. Like, have you gotten that problem taken care of? And so that it leaves the door open to say, yes, I've got it taken care of, or no, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I kind of go from there. Once I've kind of gotten their wall down, right, where they actually want to talk to me, once I've gotten past all that, the key questions is finding out if they have a foreclosure date, because you want to know what kind of deadlines you're up against. Someone on the list could be pre-foreclosure, but then they could have just gotten an auction date, just an update. So it's very, very important, like what your timeline is. And then you want to ask them, what the situation is, what is their financial hardship? And I don't ever say financial hardship, right? I say, what's the situation? And then I can determine what their hardship is based off of that conversation. And getting down, a lot of times just asking that question will just get so many answers of, what they owe and the situation. It kind of opens the door for that.
Right. And that's where I want to actually let everyone know. It's the key questions you ask. It's how do you bring the wall down, whether it's, foreclosure, short sale, or even a regular phone call that you're making, to do lead generation, or even a geofarming conversation. You have to bring the wall down. Like, listen, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to find out how are you doing, and building that rapport, building that relationship. And that's so important. And each and every webinar of ours, we always say it's about building the relationship. And once that is built, then of course you can go out and dig a little deeper about their hardships, and not saying that it's their hardships, which is really good that you just shared that with us. Thank you so much for that. Going back to Haley at RedX, I want everyone to know they're offering an exclusive membership to all the LCA members, not membership, but an exclusive offer from RedX for LCA members. Sign up now. Of course, sign up now, and they will waive the entire setup for free right? The setup fee is waived. So that's almost about $150 worth of savings. That is amazing. So there is a link that is just posted there in the chat box. But Haley, tell us a little bit more about RedX. Besides the geofarming, besides the expired list, besides all of this good stuff in the foreclosure list that you have for us, what more, like scripts and all of that? I know that my ISAs love dialing out because they get the access to the different scripts that you have.
Yeah, no, I actually do want to pitch in here because all the stuff that Nicole is talking about, the questions, the scripts, the strategy, all that stuff, it's no good if you don't have the leads to actually talk to. Exactly. And also with the conversations that you're having, that's why we get on webinars like this and we have our own podcasts and things, because people get the leads and then they don't know what to do with them. Like if you got the pre-foreclosure leads and don't know anything about what we're talking about today, then it's not going to be successful, especially if you don't have the right scripts, like we're saying, those key questions that you have. So yeah, like she said, we have our exclusive offer through the link. If you click on it, you can get pre-foreclosure leads and apply some of the tactics that we're talking about today, but also you can get a dialer to help you out and speed up the process. We've got like yes.
Yes, their dialer, their geoform. I mean, it's just so, and sometimes, and here's another challenge we might have with that we've seen that is being resolved. This is really good. And this is what I want everyone to know is that when a lead comes into RedX, and if it's not scrubbed, and 99% of the time it is scrubbed, but when it is not, there's someone always there available for you to talk to, and they will go ahead and help you out. But another question that I have is RedX audit reporting function. Where can we see how calls are made, scripts used by ISAs, and how long the calls are? Is there anything that you have, any kind of features such as that?
Yes, I would pull it up if I had it there. When you get into Vortex, which is where all of the leads are, and depending on what leads you have and things like that, let's say you were calling pre-foreclosures, and you get into a calling session, we have this thing called Pulse that counts if you can, it counts your contacts made, how many leads you're calling, how long your dial session is, all of those things is within Vortex as you're calling. So you kind of know, like a lot of people say, real estate is very much a numbers game. So you know exactly how many calls you need to make to get an appointment, to get a listing, things like that. So it's all trackable within Vortex. So you know exactly like, okay, this call, I need to make 50 calls in order to get this. So I need to get on the phone for at least 2 hours, stuff like that.
That is awesome, because we do need accountability, right, Nicole? All about how many dials you make, and
especially when you're cold calling and when you're prospecting.
Exactly. And that is a must. But I do want to give a shout out to you, Nicole. We've got a great comment here on Facebook Live from Lalanya, if I'm saying that, Rabari. Sorry if I'm messing it up because I'm not good with names. This is awesome, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with the world of LCA. This is awesome. Yes, thank you, Nicole. This is really good. So what more can you tell us, Short Sale Team? What more can you give us a little insight on about how you run your empire? Like, how do you give us a little bit of more? Go ahead, Haley.
Nicole, if you don't mind, I have a question for you. I want to know why someone would want to get into short sales and pre-foreclosure, things like that. Like agents that are watching right now, let's say they only call expireds and for sale by owners. Like, why would somebody want to get into this business and into this niche? Because it is a niche, right? So I kind of want to hear that, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's a great question. So it's funny because when I used to teach classes, and we still do, we have we have one this Friday, but we're just doing it virtual now. But when I used to teach classes in person, I used to get this feedback where it was like, either they're like excited and they're like, this is like challenging and I love this, or why do you do this? Do you drink a lot? Right. And so, and I mean, it was either or. And when people come into my mentorship group, because I mentor agents, I always tell them, I'm like, if you're not sure, read my book. Because if after my book, you feel like, I don't want you to come in if you're not 100% sure, because then I'm going to waste your time and you're going to waste mine. Right. Like I want to teach people that like want to hit the ground running. And After you read the book, if you're excited for the challenge, then this is going to be something that'll be a good fit. If afterwards you're so overwhelmed that you're like, why would any sane person do it? I'm just going to refer it to you. Awesome. I can do that too. So if you are, somebody that, likes to create solutions, and this is something that you think that would be good for you, like this is a niche, like you said, like this is something that, as realtors, no matter what you do, you have to find a niche. You have to find something that you are going to stand out from every other realtor. Do not be the realtor that's like, I buy, sell, lease, this, that, whatever. Just like this generic, person. Like when it comes to branding, if someone doesn't associate you with your brand, you're not doing it right. Right. And so a part of branding is specializing in something.
Yeah.
So if this is something that no one understands, no one does, right? Like I have yet to meet anyone that does it on a high level like us, I'm constantly looking for people to mastermind with. And that's what I tell people. And that's what they get so excited, because it's so easy to break into this market because not many people do it. So if that's something that, if you're an agent watching and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do something like this. So this might be a good niche for you.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, when we were talking earlier, it sounds like this type of niche isn't super dependent on the market conditions, right? Whereas when you're calling, like when you're calling expired leads, especially right now, expired leads are pretty low. Like nothing's going expired right now with the low inventory. So that would be another reason in my head where not only are you beating out the huge competition that expireds have with other agents, is you're pretty consistent with leads and stuff like that instead of low inventory or something.
Or I'm busier. Like,
yeah.
That's my business model.
Right.
And then when all the crap hits, if the crap hits the fan, it's like slammed.
Right.
Exactly.
We always have somebody to help.
But see, exactly. And that's the thing that you said earlier, is that everyone that you see out there, they might not say it, might not show it, but there's some sort of financial difficulty. There's some sort of financial hardship, right? And how do we go about dissecting that? That is our job. And we've got some great, great comments coming through. Michelle says, because it's a challenge. Yes. And you really are the hero when you throw the monkey wrench in the bank, and you try to see what you can do. Again, guys, there is a link right there for a special offer with RedX and LCA. Please sign up now. There's a link right there. That would be awesome. Just to get to know more information, there's a question in our question box. Is how do you find prospective short sales?
So like we were talking earlier, the best way is to utilize RedX through pre-foreclosure lists and auction. And kind of to Haley's point, if you're not utilizing, the scripts and learning all that, then you're not going to really be able to implement. So they do have a lot of great resources. And my best advice beyond scripts is to really understand, like I said earlier, the different options that homeowners are facing, because the best way to build rapport is to be that expert. And even you don't have to know everything. You just have to know the basics. And I'm always preaching that on YouTube. I'm like, guys, like stop trying to sell. Like, I don't know why we have this like realtor hat, used car salesman is like, I like to put it, like, no, like we want to be a resource for the community. We're supposed to be the leader, the industry experts, right? Like we're supposed to be the people that are helping and being able to facilitate these transactions.
We're supposed to be the people that know everything. And if we don't know, we're going to find the answer to it for our sellers and buyers, right? So I always preach the same thing because I do write courses as well. And I wrote a course on conversions, but the same thing is know and know your audience, right? And know who you're talking to and how you're talking to. What are the questions you're asking? And again, we're in the relationship building business. I mean, build that relationship and really focus in on them. It's not about you, like you said earlier, Nicole. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about helping their challenges. You said you had, so quite a few VAs, calling the banks, acquisition team, negotiating team, operations manager. Of course, at the end of it all, that's you out there. What does your VA talk about when they call the banks? Are they the ones that are initially making that first contact with the bank?
Yeah, so they don't actually do any negotiations, because virtual assistants, if you guys have experience with them, It's very straightforward. They're great because they listen, right? Like they do it, but at the same time, their capabilities are very limited. So we give them literally a list of questions like, did you get can we get an update on the file? Is there a foreclosure date? Did you receive, whatever documents, or did you receive the email? Or, I mean, it's literally that simple. Because what it does is it cuts out the time for us to be on the phone for an hour just to make sure that they got it. But that's also a very important part of the process because we call every couple days on all of our files. So in order for us to get our short sales, our average takes 2 to 3 months. The industry average is 6 months to a year if it gets approved. And the reason why is because we're on it. Like we are bugging the banks like, hey, did you get, yep, what's going on now? So because of that, that's what the VAs are doing.
And you have that team there that does it, because I have about 7 VAs and out of that 3 VAs are the ISAs that dial out. So I know what level you're talking about, but the whole thing is, yes, you do have to give them a list of questions. You do, at the end of the day, you are the one building that relationship and getting those questions answered and all of that good stuff. So we have a few questions coming in. Amanda Smith says, I just got my first short sale listing from a reverse mortgage situation. What advice do you have to get through it successfully?
Best advice I can give you is to make sure if it's an airship where the homeowner has passed away, which is why you're doing the short sale, have all of your documents up front. Otherwise, you are going to be going back and forth for months because the bank is not going to speak with you. And then the second thing is to just stay on top of it. Reverse mortgages, even though they're very straightforward, and to me, I feel like they're so much more, they're a lot simpler than the traditional short sales. A lot of people kind of never really get anywhere because they are not on top of it because there's no sense of urgency. So call like very frequently, every couple of days, to get someone, assigned to the file. There's no way obviously I can walk you through on a webinar, right? But making sure that you're on it. Right. And that you're getting everything to the bank because you always want to make sure that you're not up against any timelines, because it's kind of like hurry to wait, right? Like hurry and give us this document, now wait a couple weeks, hurry and give this. And the problem is if you don't play that game, they'll shut down the file. You have to start all over. So just stay on top of it.
Short sale in itself is so, detailed to where if you're not on top of it, you are going to be pushed right back.
So in my book, I say a reference, like it's like the blind leading the blind for agents that don't know what they're doing, because they're like, well, the bank never called. And the bank's like, but the agent didn't call and
tell me.
They didn't submit it, but they didn't tell me. And it's like, okay, it's like they're chasing each other. Like, I don't know what to do. And like, okay, well, the bank's not going to call you.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be on top of it, and you have to know. And the bank's not going to say, hey, we need all of these documents. You have to know to send them. So this is why it's a niche, because if you are, if I only had 1 or 2, I would never do it. It doesn't make any sense. The only reason why it makes sense is because we do it at a high level. It doesn't make sense to spend all of this time and energy on one listing when you're working with the buyer and then doing a traditional listing, because it's really disservicing your client. Like, I don't do any traditional. I outsource it. Like, I refer out. So I practice what I preach, right? Like, if you beyond your capacity, you need to be referring it out for your clients.
Right. And RedX has that tool as well, to where it's not only pre-foreclosure, but you're also dialing out to geofarming, your circle prospecting, your just closed, just listed, just pending, whatever it is. And that's what my ISAs do. Now, my niche is not obviously what you specialize in, because I'm in a total different, not only area, but that is not my niche. Do I want to get into it? Maybe. But again, it's if I'm going to do one or two deals, it just doesn't make sense. You have to do it at a very high level. And that's exactly what Nicole is talking about. There was another question from Sean, I believe. He says, what happens if you get into contract and the property sells at auction before you close?
Well, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. If the property ends up getting foreclosed on, I mean, obviously, this is why I keep preaching, like, know what your deadlines are, right. Request for postponements, things like that. But if that already happens, then the buyer would get, if they deposited earnest money, like the seller has lost the home, so they don't have the right to sell it anymore.
Right.
So there's nothing you can do in that situation if it's already foreclosed on.
Right. And of course, the comments are coming into where thank you, Nicole. Amanda says, thank you, Nicole. I'm up for the challenge, which is great. It does take time. Now, let's not, obviously, it's not a rosy picture out there with short sales or anything like that. Time, hard work, and anything that we do in real estate or whatever that you're doing, it does take time. It is time consuming. There is a stringent process that your team follows, your acquisition department follows, your operations department follows, a negotiating team follows. If there is anything or anywhere that the ball is dropped, it's all the way back into square one. Am I correct in assuming that?
Correct. So it's very easy for them to shut down the file. Like, you have to know. And the reason why this conversation goes in so many different directions when it comes to short sales is because every short sale is different. So every lender has different requirements, which is why a lot of people don't understand it, because they're like, I did a short sale before, but it might have been an FHA, and now you're working with the reverse mortgage, or now you're doing a conventional. It's completely different. So it's very, very important that you understand that.
Right. Or there's always to where the lender might have changed their guidelines. Mm-hmm. In some cases, they
just
might
like
have
real estate, right? Right. Just like real estate. If you did real estate 5 years ago, you're irrelevant, right? We have a completely different contract with completely different standards. Right. So you have to continually educate yourself and stay updated. That's why, the part-time realtors, sometimes that's why you have to do this full-time, right? It's a business just like anything else.
Right. Exactly. Tell us more. Tell us, being the short sale queen, what more have we not covered that you can talk to us about?
Well, I think one thing that we can touch base on is just how much opportunity there's going to be in the next 6 months to a year. Right now, they have extended the foreclosures and the forbearances until June, but the moratorium is going to expire, and you're going to have people that are going to need to sell. Now, whether they're in foreclosure or whether they just need to sell because they can't afford the house, of course, we're going to see a wave of foreclosures, but we're also going to see people that just need to get out of their situation. So if you don't know anything about, what we're talking about, it's really important to just understand the basics, even if you're not specializing in this, because you're going to come across more and more of these situations in the next year.
Awesome. Good to know. Good to know. Well, we don't have any other questions, but I think Michelle said, true, makes your head spin if you don't understand all the banks and the different loans that are out there. And it's amazing to how you're doing it, Nicole. It's such a high level with 11 different areas, that you're covering, and all the different ways that RedX is a part of it as well. And just so you guys know, if you do need to get going, we are being recorded, and it is going to be in our YouTube channel, LabCoatAgents. Please do subscribe there, and do, you can watch it at your time and your convenience. If you've missed any of this webinar, any other webinars, we are right up there. YouTube, we had to do that little pitch.
And one little plug, I do a lot of free education as well on YouTube. So if you guys want to look up the short sale queen, I'm always doing videos, free resources. Like I did one on reverse mortgages last week. So I'm always trying to put content out there. So you guys can always head there as well.
That is awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, then I am done with any questions you might have. If anyone out there have any questions, please do let us know. We've got 4 or 5 more minutes to go. Haley, anything you want to say about RedX real quickly?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody of the deal. Of course, if you click on the link that has been in the chat, shared in the chat, maybe we can share it again. You can save $150 off the setup fee, get the leads, and then go over to Nicole's YouTube channel and learn all the stuff and the details as to how to have effective conversations and to be educated on the things that we're talking about. I think they go hand in hand. So I think this has been great. So thanks.
And building that relationship with those leads out there, that is, so important. It takes time to nurture and to curate, but at the end of the day, Short Sale Queen is right here talking to us about how the process works. Nicole, I would love to do this again when, maybe at another time, talking about some of the niches that you have, such as, going into maybe reverse mortgages or something of that sort. And that would be a great segue into what and how RedX, with your knowledge, we can actually help all our LCA members as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Anything else you want to share, Nicole, before we leave?
No, that's it. Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
My channel there. So if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely. We got it right here. And by the way, also our YouTube channel, LCA, please don't forget, if you did miss anything, it's right there for you. Thank you, ladies. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.